You've heard it said before that those who fail to study history are doomed to repeat it. Well, here's the thing. Few of us need to become experts at world history or even the history of the U.S., but you need to become not just an expert, the world's foremost expert on the history of your own life and those mistakes that you keep making over and over again.
It's time now for Off the Wall with award-winning journalist and Christian author Doug Wahl. Listen to what your life reveals about the Bible through essays and commentaries on the world we live in, the people we are, and the God we serve. Now from Wilmington, North Carolina, here's Doug Wahl.
Man, I guess you gotta call this an act of boredom, but the other day I started to create a timeline. Remember those from social studies class? On the baseline are slash marks that indicate the year or maybe the decade, and keeping track of some major milestone simply required you to move your finger vertically up the page until it landed on a picture or a short sentence. But here's what you have to know. The timeline I was creating was on the history of my romantic life. Maybe by putting my romantic life on paper, by making it tangible, by being able to hold it in my hand, maybe then I could see, some larger picture. Maybe there was some hidden patterns in my dating life. Maybe I've been making the same mistake over and over again. The project put my memory to the test. When did I meet Becky? Was that my sophomore or junior year? At other moments, my mind was having an internal debate. Should I put Michelle on the page? Maybe we dated for a month, no longer than that. Does she really qualify? Should she make the cut? By comparison, the authors of textbooks had it easy. Figuring out the dates of a war was as simple as marking the first and last gunshots. My dating life was, a little bit more complicated. What should I do with Erica, the on and off again relationship with Erica? Does she get one line, or should I divide her up like Rocky movies? Erica 1, Erica 2, the sequel. Eventually, the romantic timeline started to take shape. The names of loves past began to fill the page. 11 women, starting with my high school sweetheart and ending 20 years or so later with the mother of my son. They were all inducted into what I was, thinking of as a paper hall of fame. Putting down my pencil, I stared at the sheet for a few moments, expecting that some epiphany would come charging off the page, and you know what? That is exactly what happened. All of these women had one common denominator. Why didn't I see this before? All of the women on the timeline, every single one of them, were in a relationship when we first met. Now, none of them were married or even engaged, but still, all the same, they did belong to someone else. I've become a master in playing this game. You start off never leading on that you're interested in more than a friendship. Eventually, she buys into the trust, confiding in you all the problems and tells you about all the arguments that she's having with the current boyfriend. Step 2, become the polar opposite of everything she can't stand about the boyfriend, a yin to his yang. It's inevitable. If you're patient enough, she undergoes a moment of weakness, a vulnerable time following a huge blowout with him. Step 3, this is precisely the right moment to tell her the big news. You got to tell her that you met someone else. Step 4, and this is very simple, you simply step back, brace yourself, because now she's going to pursue you. The system is manipulating, it is calculating, it is heartless, it is sleazy, and it works. It works like a charm, at least it works in the short term. Eventually, after you become a couple, things start to fall apart. Turns out it is much easier to be the anti-boyfriend and much harder to stand on your own merit. The teachings of King Solomon can be summed up in just one of his proverbs. Those who accept correction are on the pathway of life. The timeline visualized what needed to be done. My future required me to take a different path. Those who fail to study their personal history, to paraphrase the old cliche, are doomed to have another bitter breakup. So I had to do something. But still, even though the old way has proven self-destructive, I have to be honest about this, there's something oddly comfortable about it. I know how to manage it, how to tweak it, and most importantly, even when it doesn't work, I know how to survive it. Taking a different route would be embracing the unknown. Wasn't it possible that the unknown was worse than something that keeps failing. Here's one of the hardest things every believer will wrestle with at some point or another. Just because I wasn't doing it Doug's way anymore, does that automatically mean I'm doing it God's way? I don't know. I do know if something hasn't worked in the past, then it's foolish to do the same thing and expect it to work the next time around. And I know that because I studied my own history. So here are some questions. What is the one mistake that keeps appearing on your timeline, romantic or otherwise? And when you free yourself from that path, what will the new road look like? We're here for you at Off the Wall Ministries. You can check us out on Facebook. You can email us through this radio station. Today, our prayer for you is that you will study your history because we do not want you to be doomed to repeat it. I'm Doug Wahl in Wilmington, North Carolina. God bless.
You've been listening to Off the Wall on Desert Radio AZ.